Hey folks, Dave Brannen here. Welcome to Ask a Lawyer Live. It's Thursday, May 29th. We are oh boy, I'm going to forget. We're episode something. Episode 45. 45 episodes in on Ask a Lawyer Live. I'm here today to do our call-in show, so we'll see if anyone wants to phone in. I'll put the phone number up here in a minute. You can call in. We can talk on the air. I actually haven't finished setting that up. Whoops, I got distracted here and didn't finish setting that up. So I'm going to try to do that right now. Hopefully that will work. Okay, let's see if I can get this set up properly. I got to fix the mic. Okay. There we go. I think that's right. Let me double check one more time. Mic. Yep. Mic is that. Speaker is headset. Okay, there's one other thing I have to fix that we've learned the hard way. So just bear with me, folks. I'll have this set up. I should have did this before. Speaker is going to be... Let me try to relaunch that. Here we go. May not even have a caller today, but just in case. All right, let's try this again. We're going to go here. Settings, audio. There it is. Okay. It's weird how you have to have this set up so that all the audio goes through, or it'll be a situation where the person will be talking. It won't be kind of broadcasting. All right. So let's dive in here. So today is our call-in show. What I usually do is just answer some questions here first, and then give people the opportunity to phone in if they want. If you'd like to phone in, just put a comment in here. That'll make it easier, and I can stop what I'm doing, take the call. So let's dive into some questions. Or sorry, we're not diving into questions. I'm going to first go to if people don't have questions, put your questions in the chat if you have them. Otherwise, I'm going to start by just going through our forum questions and answering those. So I will share my screen here in a second. All right. I also put my things on mute so I don't get dinged with a million texts and things. All right. I'm going to share my screen. There we go. So let's see what we got for questions here. Canly resource. This is something I've been answering questions on. So this was okay. So this was someone who was asking. This was someone who was asking about research and can you use court decisions from or tribunal decisions from ODSP? Can you use those to support a claim for CPP? I said no. You want to stick to CPP tribunal decisions because the two are not really they're not the same. So, and then we had another comment here. There is a government website that posts cases of CPPD appeals. I'll see if I can find the link. It's very similar to Canly. Yeah, I know what that is. I can post the link on that. It's right at the Social Security Tribunal website, I believe. Yeah, it's right here. Just going to copy it and paste it in here. So this is another place you can go and find these court decisions. We'll take a look at it here in a second. So one of the places you can go to find these court decisions is Canly. I'll show you Canly in a second. And also you can there is a place you can go on the Social Security Tribunal website and search decisions there. I'll put it in our chat too. So this is there. I just posted that in the chat. Okay, you can go to either place and do searches for them. Let's run through a few other questions here. I'll come back to that later. Let's see what else we got here. Hourglass not done, your experience. Uh-oh. Is this some kind of a... Okay, this... I'm not sure what this is here. They might have just been trying to do some type of a emoji or something. I have no idea. Let's see what they're asking. Is anyone at the general division appeal stage appealing Service Canada decision for your CPP benefits? I like to come in here feeling really frazzled and cooped up, feeling rarely leave the house, no one really to talk to. Most people are busy with their own stresses. Life doesn't make sense. I don't want to search anymore, but maybe you could enlighten me. I'm curious to know what your experience is so far. How long have you been fighting for benefits? Why did you get denied? That's tough. That's a very open-ended question that a lot of people just won't answer. People like to answer really specific questions, but maybe someone will get in touch with this person. I'll say in my experience, most people, once you get to the tribunal stage, usually within a year, you will have a decision on your benefits. You can maybe do it a little bit faster than that. Most people get denied for the same reason, the same stated reason, just simply that the evidence you've provided does not indicate that you are unable to do any occupation. That's what they say in almost every case. They just give a generalized reason like that. Now, the nuances of it in each case is slightly different, but that is the general. CPP's gone towards like kind of using very general language and letters, probably so that they don't have to get into details. It's easier for them just to reject it and send this letter than to give a bunch of details in a letter, I guess. But that is how it's often done. If you want to see the details, you will see them once you get to the tribunal stage. Once you get to the tribunal stage, CPP, like Service Canada, has to give their whole file over to the tribunal, and then the tribunal will send it to you or your representative. That file will have all their notes and things in it. So you can actually see, there's usually more, you can see more rationales of where they're coming from, whereas the letter they send you can just be very bland and doesn't say a whole lot. All right. I'm not really have anything to answer on that one. CPP benefits review. This one says, I was curious if this was common during appeal at tribunal. However, since the time the question has been asked, I have seen other forum members with similar experience. It seems my question has been answered. Okay. Okay. That's good. See if there's any other ones I haven't answered here that we could go through. Ooh, boo, boo. Okay, so what's this one? I dug into whether a lump sum disability insurance payout is possible. I'm at the end of my mind dealing with disability insurance. They push and push. Now, 3 years into appeals for CPP. Injurious and life crushing. May not make economic sense on the books to get a payout, but what isn't also economic sense is for me is the bloody offset. Okay, so this person does not like the offset. If I fight in other arenas to get the payout and then they rake it in, I try to start to work, they offset that too. Yep. Or cut off the disability insurance. I can't live with a noose around my neck. I'm not asking for more money. I'm trying to recover what was lost, which was 6 figures for 8 years. DI will never make up for that. It's more likely I'll end up owing more than I make for them. Yeah. So what's this person asking? Oh, this person's dealing with this policy here. I was told by my contract. So this policy here, I can just tell by the number. Okay, it's the federal government's. Yeah. So this is he actually mentions, or she mentions here, it's the federal government. So that's the federal government's disability policy, 12,500. And it is true that they do not endorse non-litigated settlements. And that is true. That's my understanding, is that they will not do non-litigated settlements. So if you're on an approved claim, they're not going to do a buyout. This person's saying, so the employer must request it. I don't know if that's true. I don't think it matters if the employer requests it. I think which the employer in this case would be the federal government. So yeah, I think you just can't get them with federal government under this plan. So this person's just saying, like, they're being ignored, yeah, because the government doesn't endorse them and the plan doesn't allow them. So the government isn't going to make an exception in your case. Very unlikely. Um, yeah, I'm going to just respond here and say, yeah, I've never known anyone to get a lump sum buyout on an approved disability claim under plan 12500. It's like they told you buyouts, non-litigated buyouts. There we go. There. See what else we got here. Here's a poor soul that no one's responded to. Is there continuing disability review for provincial disability? Yeah, I'll have continuing disability review as a general rule. Yep. So that depends on the program, your prognosis, diagnosis, etc. Your prognosis. So you're required to give ongoing proof of disability if they ask for it. If the program asks for it. There you go. Your benefits would only be reviewed if your doctor clears you for return to the workforce. There we go. Let's send him that. Hopefully that'll help this person out. There we go. See if there's any other stragglers here that no one's answered. Well, this one here, I don't know what to say to this person though. Let me just say, I'll respond here. Just this, I can't have someone not having any responses. So I can give my 2 cents as a person who represents many people appealing to the Social Security Tribunal. Most cases I am involved with will get to a decision within 12 to 15 months. Within 12 to 15 months of filing the notice of appeal. What else was this person asking? They wanted to know how long have they been fighting? Yeah. Why did they get denied? Or that you are file from Service Canada once you receive it. However, let me back this up here. Soon after filing the notice of appeal, you should receive the complete file from Service Canada. You can review their file to get more detail on why they denied your claim. You will have access to their internal notes and records. Best of luck. There. Okay. That way you'll break the ice. Hopefully someone else will give that person an answer. Is there any other Oh, there's a few other stragglers. DTC. Ugh, I don't want to answer those. Those are always tough. DTC dependent. Yeah. I can go back to those later. Here's one. It's a weird one. Why is no one? That's the same person. Holy smokes. This is way back in March. Is it true that if you have confirmed severe medical conditions that is both application decision and reconsideration, you don't have to prove you have tried to participate in other works? What? Is it true that if you have confirmed severe medical conditions in both application decision and reconsideration decision, you don't have to prove you tried to participate in other work or vocational attempts? So but I'm going to sneeze here. Oh, excuse me. All right, how's the best way to answer this? You okay. So the exception is if you do not However, it is always better to show that you have made efforts. So I guess like what you have to show is basically the way it works. Where when assessing whether your medical condition is severe as defined by CPP disability, they will look at one of the things they consider is whether you've made reasonable efforts to stay in the workforce or return to the workforce in some other capacity with accommodations or whatever, as long as you have some residual work capacity. It does say that if you do not have residual work capacity, then you don't have an obligation to make these efforts. However, whether or not you have residual work capacity is always a difficult thing. It's a gray area. And so you're always better off to show that you've tried and used reasonable efforts in this area rather than just try to argue you had no residual work capacity. you can successfully argue no residual work capacity. I've done that many times, but as a general rule, you do always want to try to show that you've made some efforts. So in every case, even when I feel like there was no residual work capacity, I always try to find examples of how my client did try to stay in the workforce in some capacity. Or I recommend to the client that before you get to the tribunal, you have to have tried to get back to work because there is some evidence of work capacity. So some evidence of work capacity might be that you're able to do volunteer work, that your symptoms, like you're able to do some level of work. If you're showing that you're able to do some level of work, then they're going to want you to show that you've made efforts. That is evidence of work capacity. So they would want to show that you've made further efforts to see how if you could work more, or to get in a job that might be able to give you a substantially gainful income. Okay. It's a little late in answering that, but better late than never. Okay. Let's see if there's any more. I'll do one more. This is an older one, but let's see what it says. I've been on and off of LTD for 2.5 years. I've been on and off LTD 2.5 years with post-COVID symptoms. My LTD insurer made me apply for CPP. I got declined. 2 case manager later, they're asking for my denial letter and wants to see why I got declined. Back then, CPP made the decision that I'm eventually able to work, but a year later, I'm still off, and my doctor says it's unknown when I'll be able to work. Any idea on why my case manager is insisting to have the letter? Also, my doctor gave them a medical update saying I can't work. Well, I know why they want the letter. That is a checkbox that they must make. Like, it's a highly likely it is a workplace requirement for them to have the letter on file. They need proof that you applied and were denied. Under most group policies, a little late again answering, but hopefully this person still is wondering about this, and others who read this. There we go. Okay, welcome. Looks like we got a few more people wandering on in here. For the new people that have just arrived, if you have a question, just throw it in the chat. Just type it on in there and I'll be able to answer it live on the air. Right now, I'm just going through our Canada Disability Claim Forum, just answering questions online. This is something I like to do because it keeps me up to date on answering people's questions on there. If you want to come on live, I can certainly bring someone on live for a phone call. You would be phoning in and we'd be talking right here live on the air. So obviously you don't broadcast all your business live on YouTube if you don't want everyone to know, but it is an easier way to answer questions sometimes. So if anyone is interested in coming on and having a chat, then just let me know not really a chat, but a phone call. Let me know here and I can bring you on. But again, it is public. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm going to move on. I was just going through these. I wanted to go through and show you. We started on this yesterday, and I thought I would show you again today how you can do your own legal research. So one of the best ways to do your own legal research is through a site called CanLee. I'm going to go there right now. So this is the CanLee website. Not even sure what CanLee stands for, honestly, but Canadian Legal something something. No idea what it stands for. Okay, what is CanLee? Let's look it up. Canadian Legal Information Institute. Oh, okay, there it is. That's it. The Canadian Legal Information Institute. This was developed by, I think it's law societies and different kind of like charity funding to put this together to make the law accessible in Canada. Without this, before CanLee, in fact, when I started in law school many years ago, it was just starting to move away from a book-based system, paper-based system, and having more online databases. So online databases were still new. They were just sort of emerging when I got into law. Before that, it was just all books, like you see behind me there. They would publish these books every year with all the new cases, and you literally would have to go through the books to find the cases, and there were indexes. That all changed with the advent of the internet, and they started having these databases where the same thing, you would just, instead of getting a book, you would just search it, and it was all digital online here. So in the early days, there were only paid versions of these databases, so you'd have to pay for a license to use the software. What happened is that really makes the law inaccessible to just the average person. So these law societies across Canada and other kind of people who give money to charity, they developed the Canadian Legal Information Institute to develop CanLee. So CanLee, what they do is they do the same thing all the other legal databases do. They take in all the published decisions and organize them in a database that you can search for things. CanLee is not bad. There's been points in my career where I only used CanLee for my legal research, and I'm not at that point now. Now I use one called Westlaw, which is really quite good, top end. But CanLee is still decent. It's just Westlaw saves me a lot more time. I may be able to be more productive with it. But at the end of the day, like, they both have the same basic stuff. They both have the same basic cases. It's just Westlaw has a bit more. It's a little higher end and a little more functional if you're going to be doing this every day as a lawyer. So the way you search these databases, you can just search right here and just put in information, and it will search and try to find those words. So yeah, this is like a word search kind of database. This is not like ChatGPT, where ChatGPT is looking for contextual things. This is like searching for a word. So if you put a word in here, it will look through its database and find those to match up those words. At some point, they may add AI to this. Like, for example, the databases I use do have an AI component, but this CanLee does not. So you can see here they've organized the law by jurisdictions in Canada. And so that's all the provinces, territories, and the federal government has its own jurisdiction. So if you click on one of these, like if we went to, let's just say, Ontario, you can now search. This will now limit you to searching all these Ontario areas of law for whatever information you're looking for. You can see it's divided into different areas. So there's legislation, which is the laws passed in Ontario. They're all here. So you can go and find all the statutes. Like if we wanted to find the Insurance Act, we would go to I. We'd scroll down right here, Insurance Act. Boom. We're in the Ontario Insurance Act. And then it shows different versions, regulations, cited by. Oh, look. Oh, they're bringing AI. I can't believe it. They are going to have AI here. Okay. You can see here AI analysis. So they are bringing AI to CanLee. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, so that's how that would work. You can also go, these are all the court decisions from each type of court. And these are boards and tribunals. So this would be all the decisions from. So you're going to have two areas where you get decisions in cases. You're going to have them coming from courts and boards and tribunals. Boards and tribunals are just a specialized type of court that fall below the real courts, what I would call them, but they still have a lot of power in very specific areas. For example, if we go back to federal, We've been talking about CPP disability. You can see these are all the federal courts. And also there is the Social Security Tribunal. Where is it? Right here. So this is where you could go. You will see here, it shows the most recent decisions and Employment Insurance Commission. Okay, so that would be EI cases. These ones here, Minister of Employment, and these would be CPP cases. So the Social Security Tribunal does both EI cases and also these CPP disability cases. So you could go, this is one way if you just wanted to look at recent decisions, you just go through them like this. I was showing this yesterday, but if you wanted to search, like if you wanted to see what are all the cases that David Brannen has done, you could just do a search for David Brannen. You put the quotation marks, that means it'll search only for that. If I put David Brannen without quotation marks, it'll search for either of those. So we would get all the Davids and all the Brannons, but this will only show us where the word David Brannen appears. So if we do this, it will limit you to cases where David Brannen was a representative. So you can see there's a bunch here. It's important to know, especially with CPP disability, not every case is published. They only will publish cases that have some value, like some precedential value in another case. So these are all the cases that I've been involved in. You can see they go back a while. 2018, I had a lot of cases in 2018 for some reason. You can sort them by different ways, by newest. So the newest case I had was right here. This looks like it came out in February. Then I had one from November. I had one come out last January or the year before. So you can see they were all spread around. Again, I had one published decision in 2023, but I definitely did more cases than that. So a lot of them just don't get published. You can see here too, like they will give different keywords related to the case that might make it important. So if you were doing a search for substantially gainful occupation, I think this database would pick up this case. So this case must have been over whether there was a substantially gainful occupation. Let's just take a look at it and see. Is this from the... I think this was... Oh, yeah, this is from the appeals division. So this would have been a case that got denied at the tribunal, and then we appealed it to the appeals division within the Social Security Tribunal, and were successful, which is not easy to do. Trust me, we don't always win those. Those are very difficult to do. We win a good number of them. If we've represented the client the whole way through, they can be difficult when people come to us where they've already lost at the general division and we have to just start over. At least back then it was much harder because you couldn't submit new information. Nowadays, there is an opportunity with some of these going to the appeal division that you can submit new information as well. But anyway, it's interesting. You can read through and just see where you can see where there's how they come up with their decisions and things like that. And you can see some of the arguments that we make. I see I've had some interesting cases. Let's see which I haven't even gone through this for a while. Let's see some of the older ones. So the oldest case I have in here is from 2016. Let's see if there's one in here. Or even repel. Where was that? Don't remember it. I don't remember the case. So you can see these are the kind of issues that come up in every case. The minimum qualifying period is December 31st. So the key thing is for proving is that this person had a disability as of that date. Now this case was done in 2016. Okay, so that's not that hard to prove because it's very close in time. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Now, if you want to do other research, so let's just say if we want to do some research here, you could come here and say that we're dealing with an issue of, we could say, prolonged. Let's see if anything comes up for that. Yep. So if you search for prolonged disability, you'll get a bunch of cases where prolonged disability is highlighted here. Now, it's not, it doesn't look like it's picking up on this up here, and it's sorting it by relevance. So it will look for cases where this is the most it's frequently cited in the case. If you wanted to do, like, let's say you suffered from fibromyalgia, you could just search for that and find cases. Oh, I spelled it wrong. There you go. So you could search for cases that show cases for fibromyalgia. You could go fibromyalgia and David Brannen to see if I have a published decision on fibromyalgia where, yes, there are a couple in here. Yeah. So these would be cases where the words fibromyalgia and David Brannen both appear in the decision. You could do fibromyalgia or let's just do something completely different. You could go with something like a late application. Yep. You'll see a bunch of things here. So this is the old way of doing legal research. It's very cumbersome and you spend a lot of time scrolling and reading cases to try to find what you want. Nowadays with AI, and it's much easier. You can sort of do a search that's based on more contextual. So you'd more talk to the search engine and say, I'm looking for cases like this, and it will find them. Whereas this, you're really just word searching. It's not looking at context and things. There we go. All righty. So what else did I have here? Nothing there. Oh yeah, this is where you would go. So I showed you Canly. There's another place you can also go to find CPP disability decisions. It's right here. Someone had asked about this in one of the comments we were looking at. So this is the Social Security Tribunal, and you can come to this website and click on decisions, rules, and policies. Come down here, and you can search the decisions. See, it's all the same thing. Here you can search by, mostly here it just lists the results, but they do have different areas. So let's look at the advanced search. Subjects. Interesting, yeah. So these will be, you could pick, okay, benevolent employer, that's an interesting one, yeah. Failed work attempts. So you could go by, these will be by issue. So someone had asked, we just answered a question about efforts to work. Yeah, interesting. Severe, benevolent, incapable regularly. Oh, you're not seeing my screen. Sorry. Whoops. There it goes. Thanks for letting me know that. So I wasn't even watching that. This is the Social Security Tribunal's website, and you go into decisions and policies. So you click on that and it takes you here. Then you come down here and click on CPP disabilities, what we're interested in. Then below, once you're here, you can go to advanced search and click on subjects, and this is where you can search by issue. So if you know what the issue is in your case, you could search and just find cases related to that issue. So you can kind of scroll through them and see what your issue might be. A lot of people's issue are going to be right here. Efforts to work, suitability of work attempt is a very, that's going to be a big issue in most cases. So you can see we're not searching anything else. We're just going to find cases about that issue and search, and it will bring you up these cases by relevance right now. Now, again, you can do a full text search. You could also put, if you want to see, okay, let's see if there's one of these cases I've done. Maybe not. No. So there's none. There's none where they've coded it that and it's a case that I'm in as well. Again, not every case is published, but let's go back and see all these cases. So you would go through these. Again, that's why this is very cumbersome and takes forever. It will show you all the issues that are. Oh, I see. It looks like they're not. Oh, no, they're putting a representative in here. Interesting. Okay. I'll leave it for there, unless people have any questions about that. I'm probably going to call it a day here. We've been chit-chatting a while. I'll be back. No, I won't be around tomorrow. I'll be back on Monday. Might be changing up the schedule a little bit next week. We'll see. I might not be doing it 4 days a week. I might drop it down a couple of days just where we're getting into the summer and things like that. But we'll see. I'll let you know when the email goes out on Monday what our schedule is going to look like. I hope you guys all have a good weekend, and I will see you back here next week. Have a good one.